What a Catch, Part 107, a Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction. If you've not heard the previous 106 parts of this story, you can find a link to them in the description box below. If you haven't already, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and comment down below in support of more fanfiction. Adrien's head pounded as he blinked himself into consciousness. It was hard to move his head from the position he'd slept in, but he could see Nino on the couch across from him, dressed in an Iron Man shirt and cat print pajama bottoms. He couldn't muster enough strength to lift his head up, so as far as he could tell, it was just the two of them in this room until he felt something shift beneath him. A peek up revealed a woman gazing down. Marinette. Her face was different, a bit worn, but the most beautiful he'd ever seen her. "Hey," he murmured, lifting his hand to touch her face. Her face twisted into a smile that was meant to hide a sob, and she wrapped her hand around his. "Hey," she whispered back. "How are you doing?" Nino asked, his tone soft and sincere. He dismissed his best man's question to spend some more time looking at her, his wife. The word felt clunky and homely at the same time. Wife. He had one. She was his. He didn't know how close they became, and he was sad he'd forgotten about what was surely years of happy married life. He didn't know how long he'd been akumatized, but the subtle changes in her face told him it was longer than anyone before him. His head pounded as he processed what happened to him and the events leading up to his akumatization. The Eiffel Tower, Hawkmoth, his father, the wedding, Sabine, Tom, the accident. "Mr. Stark," Adrien said, closing his eyes and biting back his smile. "I don't feel too good." Marinette inhaled sharply, and Adrien knew his joke didn't deliver. Whoops. He felt something hit his chest and looked down to see a pillow. Nino must have thrown it. "Too soon!" he heard him yell. "Dude, the movie came out when we were in high school. It's been more than a decade." "Clearly you're feeling better if you're talking like that." Adrien tried to laugh, but ignited a coughing fit instead. He felt the air in the room stiffen, each pair of eyes watching him intensely. "Hey," Marinette said softly when he was done. He looked up at her and wished he could do more. "Hey, guys," he said, not sure who was listening. "Do you mind if I take a moment to have the room to myself and Mare?" Footsteps shuffled out as muscles in Marinette's legs tightened beneath him. She was nervous, and he knew why. She was thinking about her father and the Eiffel Tower. "What must I do for you?" Her voice was nearly a whisper, restrained by sobs she refused to let out in front of him. "Marinette." His tone was firm and soft. If anything, it was sincere. "It's okay." "No, it isn't," she whispered, "because there's so much. I can't tell what you're talking about." "All of it. I don't care anymore." Her face softened for a moment. She sighed, unable to finish her sentence. "You don't believe me." He did his best to sit up, twisting his body as she helped place his back on their armrest. She'd slid him across her lap, so now he was sitting on the end cushion with his legs draped over hers, his feet resting on the opposite side. I don't think I can. No. You're really going to make me say it? I thought we didn't need such things. Say what? She stiffened again. I forgive you. When Marinette didn't respond, he continued. I forgive you. What happened between us isn't hurting me anymore, but I can tell it's hurting you. So please, Marinette, let it go. It was a few minutes before she responded. I don't deserve you. No, you don't deserve the guilt that's eating you alive. How much do you remember? Of these last few years, or our last few moments together? Anything at all. Enough to not be mad at you. She stared out into the room, not answering him. Her chin was quivering, a sure sign of her trying to keep a calm facade. I don't believe you. At least, not yet. You deserve to. Don't let yourself get consumed. We saw what that did to me. He saw her waterline gloss up. I'm sorry I hurt us. You never deserved that. No, Marinette. We deserve something much better than this. Yeah? What could there possibly be, after all that's happened? Adrien smiled to himself, knowing he was about to make her cry. We deserve a soft epilogue, he began. One with sunflowers and peach tea, and a big dog that sleeps at the foot of our bed. An ending that begins our life of champagne in Rome and picnics in Paris. Cufflinks at dinner parties and sundresses for brunch. I want Saturday grocery shopping and Sundays spent at cat cafes. We'll have weeks that blur together in happiness, separated only by the photos and memories of places we've gone and shows we saw to fill our time with the other. That's what you and I deserve. He sat there as she turned away from his gaze, her hand covering her face. She was crying again, but there wasn't a drop of regret in him. He wanted to take her hand, to embrace her, but he let their lack of connection emphasize his words. He meant every one. Do you remember what you said to me the night before our wedding? Which thing? I couldn't stop talking that night. That there will come a day that no one has ever known us apart. It looks like I've delayed that quite a bit. Doesn't matter. I want to get old and wrinkly with you, so who cares who remembers my twin-tailed hair days? Adrien snorted at her joke. Finally. What? You're finally referring to our future, together. Her expression shifted into that of surprise. Oh. I told you, Bugaboo. I don't care anymore. We've been through too much. If it bugs you that much, we can talk about it in therapy. Therapy? There's no way we aren't going after this. She glanced over at him, finally making eye contact before bursting into laughter. Laughter. It was the first time he'd seen her smile since she cleansed the Akuma. He'd said it as a joke to make her laugh, but he had every intention of following through. They both needed to start going, with or without memories of what happened to them. He reached out for her, grazing her cheek before pulling her shoulders first to rest on his chest. Her hair smelled like home, and her fingers resting on his collarbone gave him chills. Finally, after too much angst for a lifetime, let alone a day, Adrien felt relieved. He was back, safe, warm, and happy. And his happiness was his alone for the first time in years. Thank you so much for listening. Part 108 is on the way. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more fanfiction. I'll catch you next time.